This is Kerry Stevenson for the Wall Street Ninja, and today I've asked John Miniotis and Dave O'Connor. John is the CEO of Abra Silver. The TSXV code is Abra, nice and easy. Also, David O'Connor, he's the chief geologist, and they are in the Argentina region in Salta, which for some of you will know is very, very active right now. Guys, good to see you. Thanks for joining me on Wall Street Ninja today.
It's our pleasure. Thanks very much for having us, Kerry.
Now, we haven't spoken before, so first up, give us a brief overview of who are Abra Silver.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So Abra Silver is an advanced stage exploration company with a very high quality silver and gold project called Diablillos, which is in the mining friendly Salta province of Argentina, as you mentioned. The project currently has a large measured and indicated resource base of just over 90 million ounces of silver and 1 million ounces of gold. So a very good balance between both those precious metals. But I'd say importantly, I mean, we've proven with our drilling over the past 2 years now, this project has considerable exploration potential. We're continuing to grow the project here and consistently hitting high grade results, both within the pit and in brand new zones now. And so, yeah, this project is already a large resource base, but has clearly tremendous blue sky potential ahead of us.
Well, it would be remiss of me not to bring in David at this stage. David, you're the chief geologist. Why do you like this project so much?
Well, I like it because it's close to surface. It's with regards to open pits, it's a high grade silver gold project. And one very good thing about it is we have a resource base of around about 40 million tons. We have a positive preliminary economic evaluation, and we have huge potential to expand, which we've been exploring just recently in the last few months and coming up with some very good exploration success, which we'll go into.
Okay, fantastic. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
When we started here, the resource base was around about 700 to 800 meters long along strike. Personally, I think we're going to double that.
All right, well, there's been plenty of...
It's the first time I've said that, but I mean, it's starting to look good.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it first on Wall Street Ninja. He reckons he's going to double that strike length, so we'll get into that as well. John, give us an idea of where the project is located, because I think it's a fairly active region, isn't it, with lots of other projects around you.
Yeah, that's right. So Salta is absolutely booming. I mean, you could see one of the slides here from our corporate presentation, I think summarizes it quite well. So this is where we're located in Salta, and Salta is part of the lithium triangle. And so there are a number of projects. I mean, these projects in green boxes here are all projects currently under active construction.
Okay.
And so all of these happen to be lithium projects. But yeah, you can see within a 100-kilometer radius from our project site, there's over $2 billion of construction activity going on right now, again, in less than a 100-kilometer radius. And so that's hugely important because there's 2 new airstrips coming in. There's already a natural gas pipeline in the region. There's a second one being built. There's already a highway from Salta where Dave's sitting. There's a second highway being built again that's going to be even closer to site. So we're benefiting tremendously from the infrastructure that's already there and that's being built. And clearly, I mean, large cap companies. I mean, you can see some of the companies operating and exploring in Salta. The big boys are in our backyard here, and so I think corporates see the potential of Salta. And it's been ranked consistently as the highest, most attractive mining jurisdiction in all of Argentina by the Fraser Institute. And a few years ago, it was actually the most attractive mining jurisdiction in all of Latin America by the Fraser Institute. So it's absolutely booming with mining investment at the moment. And even on the gold side, on the precious metal side, I mean, there's a company, Fortuna Silver, that's built the Lindero project. That's about 150 kilometers away from ours. That was successfully built a few years ago and is operating nicely now. So, this is a part of the world that's very much under the radar, I would say, but absolutely booming in terms of lithium investment at the moment. And I think soon our project is, likely going to enter construction stage in a couple of years from now as well.
You seem to have flown a little bit under the radar recently, but you just mentioned the L word, not love, lithium. Are you focused purely on gold and silver? And Dave, I guess this is one for you. What are you finding there? It's high grade silver and gold. Is that what you've got there? Is this an area within the Salta province that is different from the other areas that surround you?
What surrounds us are salars, salt lakes, and the associated sediments around them. And that's where the lithium is hosted. We're in the hard rock, and our deposit, you can describe it as a high sulfidation epithermal system. In other words, it's a series of veins that come up from an intrusive below, which is likely to be a porphyry. And these veins are in an oxide zone, and the mineralization, the gold and silver mineralization is in oxide, and therefore it's easily extractable with the cyanide leach process. And that's what we're exploring, and that's what the resource we're expanding right now.
Dave, are you going to be looking further down the track to go a little bit deeper and find that pesky little porphyry that might be sitting further down? In other words, the source of where this is coming from?
We've got a couple of pesky little porphyries. One of them is directly underneath where we are drilling at Oculto, but it might be too deep. However, on the feeders, in the feeders that go down to the porphyry, there's high-grade sulfide mineralization. Now, what we've been focusing on is the cyanide leachable oxide mineralization, which goes down to around about 250 meters depth. And then below that, you get a transition zone, and then you're into the sulfides. And the sulfides are a high-grade copper-gold resource, which we are not planning to. We're not planning to grid drill at this stage to get to a resource status. But we know it's there. We're concentrating on expanding the oxide resource and expanding the immediate mineable material that we have.
Well, I guess that's sensible as well, because otherwise you can be drilling for forever, and it can be very costly. And if you've got this, as you say, low cost, high grade, close to surface, focusing on that, John, I guess is the strategy, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. No, we're in a fortunate position of having more targets than we could possibly drill here, just given our time and money that we have available. And so, yeah, we're focused on the low-hanging fruit. I mean, we already have an economic project here. We announced a PEA study last year in November, so less than a year ago now, that shows at $24 silver, $16.50 gold. This project already has over 30% after-tax rate of return and about a $475 million net present value. And again, that's just focused on the oxides here. And since then, of course, we've drilled an additional 20,000 meters and have had some phenomenal drill results from that, which I'm sure we'll talk about here. And so, I think it was a good base, but clearly we see the project as being significantly more economic than the PEA did it justice, I believe.
I want to talk about I guess the cash position and where you're going to be spending that cash going forward. What are the plans? I'm sitting here talking to you today. It's August 2022. What are your plans for the rest of the year? Is there lots of drilling to expand this resort? And I'm going to bring in what Dave said before. He reckons he's going to double that strike length.
Yeah. So in terms of cash position, I mean, as of Q1, the end of the first quarter, we had about 17 million Canadian in cash. And so we're very well funded here for the next 12 months. And so our drill program has been, even though the results have been world-class, I would say, the budget has been on the low end of most of our peers, I would say. And so we've been drilling. Last year, we drilled 20,000 meters. The total budget for that was less than $6 million US.
Wow.
And this year going forward, I mean, we have budgeted for 15,000 meters, but likely we'll expand that again, assuming we continue to have good success there. So yeah, we spend about $6 million a year on exploration. And so with the cash we have on hand, we can, drill here for the next year, as well as, the plan is by October to announce an updated resource estimate. So within a couple months from now. And then in Q1, early Q1, we'll have a pre-feasibility study as well.
There's plenty of work going on there. How do you decide, because how big is this project in terms of the size? And there's lots of drilling going on. What sort of work are you doing to decide where you put the drill bit down?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we could look at a section or something, but you know, the resource, there we go. The PEA was in that grey area. That's the open pit confined resource, which was used for the preliminary economic evaluation, and the resource within that is just over 40 million tons. We've been exploring within and beyond that. So we've had a multi-tiered approach. There was a high stripping ratio that John mentioned, well, not high, but a stripping ratio of 3.6 to 1. We're bringing that down by converting waste to ore in that shallow mineralized zone, and we've been pretty successful at that. Then we've been drilling what's called the Tesoro zone. Now, within the Tesoro zone, that's a high-grade secondary enriched silver zone beneath that shallow mineralization. That zone there was just over 8 million tons of higher grade silver, and mainly silver and gold mineralization. And we've been drilling in there to increase that 8 million tons. Now, John doesn't want me to tell you how big I think it is. So I'll just say that.
Oh, go on, David, tell us.
He wants me to say it's 12 million tons, and I think that's conservative. So we're going up from 8 to 12, and the grade will stay at least the same or better. Let me put it this way. From the recent drilling we've got, I would say 12 million tons of measured resource is very conservative in that high grade zone. And then beyond that, we've been drilling the northeast zone, getting resources beyond the pit. And there's two ways of looking at that. First of all, we were looking at a high grade gold, which would be mineable from underground. So we were looking at higher grade resources. And then we were looking at, we've started looking at shallower open pitable resources as well in that area. But you can see that the topography slopes up, and this is the interesting part now, is that the topography slopes up in that direction towards the left-hand side of the screen, towards what is the northeast. And so drilling there, you end up drilling through a lot of overburden to get to underground mineable resources. Now that's we're going to do a resource estimate on that to include it in the financial estimate of the thing. But on the other side, on the right-hand side of the screen, the mineralization disappears under colluvial cover. Now it's covered.
Sorry, Dave, what do you mean by colluvial cover? I know what overburden is and cover, but what's colluvial cover?
Well, it's just stuff that's sloughed off the side of the hill there. It's like alluvial, but it's just come off. It's a cover of around about 50 to 60 meters thick of unconsolidated material that's come off the side of the hill, and it's a scree slope which has spread out like a fan and is covering up the rocks underneath. And we didn't know what the rocks underneath were, of course, because they're covered. So we've done some magnetic surveys and IP surveys, and the magnetics is showing us that the mineralization or the structures continue in that direction. And just recently we announced hole 19, which is 500 meters beyond the previous hole. See, those two stars at the southwestern part of the pit.
Yeah.
The assumption was that the mineralization pinched out around there, but we drilled 2 holes there which got good grade because it was a little bit offset from the main trend. You can see the grades there. And so we thought, well, if there's high grade silver there, why not further out? So we followed the structure out on the magnetics, and we drilled a hole there just to see if the magnetic signature was reflecting mineralization, and lo and behold, we got 87 meters of 346 grams per ton gold, silver, sorry.
Silver,
and,
yeah.
We've drilled a couple of holes either side of it. You can see there, which we don't have the results for yet, but it's the rock is looking similar. So it seems to be that we're generating a high-grade silver resource close to surface, just underneath the colluvial cover. So when you go down around about 50 or 60 meters through the unconsolidated overburden, you have high-grade silver. So that's an ideal mining situation. And that's where the excitement comes in.
Dave, why did you decide to go in, with that new discovery in that southwest zone? Was there something showing you that that was a good place to put the next drill bit down? I mean, why there? Because
well, you see those two holes further on in the pit there, higher up. That's 67 meters of 157 grams per ton, and then there's a 57 meters of 108 and 1.47 gold. Those are higher, much higher than was anticipated. It was supposed to be that the mineralization pinched out and got lower grade there, but it doesn't. So now we're thinking that there's a series of on echelon veins, if you know what I mean. So if you look at the other diagram at the top there, there's the what we're now calling the North Breccia zone, and they step downwards like that through the West Breccia and the East Breccia. Now we think there's another breccia underneath the cover there. So that where John is drawing that line now, we think there's a parallel zone which may not be connected to the open pit, but it's another one underneath. So that's the good thing is it's a high grade one. So now we're looking at how far that goes and how far it will extend on the south side in an east-northeast direction on the south side of the pit, underneath all that cover.
Mm-hmm.
Is it coming from the same source rock? Or you're saying this could be a completely different area? No, there's Dr. Richard Sillitoe is the world expert on porphyries, and he told us unequivocally there's a porphyry underneath Occulto. Now there's a cluster of porphyries in our project, and we haven't been exploring for porphyries because the one underneath Occulto is theoretically too deep, and so we've just been touching the sulfides and not developing resource. But then we have a porphyry camp to the north. Now I won't go into that, but it seems to be that the underlying there's a cluster of porphyries feeding this thing, and it's almost certain that there's a porphyry, one or two porphyries. Now getting onto that, it's not on the map there, John, but if you look where Cerro Bio is on the right hand side of that map there where John's got his hand, it seems to be that there's another phase of mineralization out there. There's the historical drill hole got a meter of 11 grams gold and a series of other lower grade, like 4 or 5 grams gold over several meters in that area. Now that hasn't been explored before, and that also plunges undercover. So the whole of that south part of the system hasn't been explored, but we think there's a porphyry lurking underneath there. Too deep to drill, but the epithermal system above it could be pretty good. Where to from here?
Yeah, I mean, from here, I think it's we have the benefit of having a number of targets here, and so we're drilling for the foreseeable future. Drilling out this southwest zone is priority number one. But there's still a lot of value to be unlocked, again, within the Occulto pit itself, drilling that high-grade Tesoro zone where we've had tremendous success over the past year. I mean, we know there's still more upside. And so for us, I mean, we're continuing to be focused on adding value through the drill bit. Dave and the team at site have done just a phenomenal job for us over the last 2 years here. And so continuing to drill, continue to grow this project, and then advance it towards ultimately a feasibility study and, construction decision stage. I think we're about 2 years away, less than 2 years away from having a feasibility study completed on this Occulto deposit, having permits in place, and then sometime in 2024, this would be ready to start construction. But in the meantime, of course, now there's all these other areas that we're targeting as well. And so you really get the best of both worlds. You get already an economic project as we showed in our PA study of last year. But most importantly, I mean, looking forward for investors, there's still a heck of a lot of value to be unlocked here through the exploration.
And I might just jump in and support that wild statement I said of doubling the thing. I mean, you can see the gray area there. Within that, there's around about 700 meters strike length of mineralization at the level of the mineralization. The pit, of course, because it slopes up around about 45 degrees, is bigger when it comes to the surface, but at 200 meters down, it's around about 700 or 800 meters long, the mineralized zone. But you can see that arrow is 2 kilometers long. Now we've got ore grade intercepts now at 500 meters southwest,
Yep.
and also 500 meters northeast. So that's the length of the mineralized system where we're hitting ore grade intercepts.
So David, does that mean that you just increase the size of the open pit when it comes to final construction decision? What impact does that have?
The part to the northeast is likely to be too deep. That is going to be a large resource, but underground mineable. The part that now the where we're focusing now, because we've got such good grades in hole 19. I mean that 87 meters of 346 grams per ton. With the 22 meters of over 1,000. I mean, that there has to be a focus because it's so shallow. It's only the intercept is around about 80 meters below the surface, down a 60-degree angle, but vertically it's around about 55 degrees below the surface, and right underneath the unconsolidated overburden. So
how deep is that? What's the overburden? Is it a couple of meters or is it 20 meters?
No. It's about 50 meters of unconsolidated rock.
Wow. Okay.
50 meters of gravel. So
right.
you bulldoze the 50 meters of gravel away, and you should end up with, well, I mean,
yeah,
you'll end up in that particular hole with high grade silver.
David, you've been around the industry for quite a while. I sense a bit of excitement in your voice about this project overall. Sorry to ignore you for a minute, John, but being a chief geologist, I kind of want to know, because I'm not a geologist and our community out there are investors looking at opportunity. So coming from you, David, in all your years working in the industry, what's driving you on this one?
Well, I mean, it's the size of the system. I mean, we were drilling, well, yeah, we've expanded the resource within the open pit. Within the PEA, Primary Economic Evaluation pit, we've expanded that, and that sort of gets boring. You know, I mean, you drill a few more good holes where you know the good holes are going to be, big deal. So you're incrementally expanding the resource. But when you move out half a kilometer and you hit high grade, now that's exciting. I mean, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Now, you know, it's hard to stop myself from yawning when we hit another high grade in the middle there. But when you hit the high grades, you know, half a kilometer north and half a kilometer south, well, then you start to perk up.
Just a little bit. John, back to you. Do you think the market doesn't realize what AbraSilver have got? I mean, maybe we should start calling it AbraSilver and gold, because there's the gold there as well. Do you think the market has underestimated just how big this project could potentially be? What do you say? Or is there an Argentina factor there as well?
Yeah, no, I'd say without question. I think the true value of this project is many multiples of what our current market cap is. And I think that's shown even just by the PA study, which we announced last year, which we know, you know, since then we've drilled 20,000 meters. We've had some phenomenal success there in growing the project. But if you look back at the PA study, you know, we had a net present value for this project of about 475 million Canadian dollars. And so on a per share basis, that's just roughly about $1 per share. And we're trading at under 40 cents per share today. And so we're trading at a deep discount to that PEA study. Now, since then, of course, we've had some of the best silver exploration results in the world. I mean, we've grown that Tesoro zone, you know, Dave says, by at least 50% to at least 12 million tons. And that's going to be hugely economic. And so we've added a number of high value ounces here, and we'll obviously have that update to the market later this year with the updated resource, and then in Q1 with the updated pre-feasibility study. But I think if you look at our results, I mean, it's unquestionable that we're consistently hitting high grades here. We're growing this project, you know, we're increasing the value that we have in the ground. But just given the overall market conditions, I mean, the share price is still, I mean, we had a market cap of over $300 million in May of last year, and today we're less than $200 million. So we're trading at a deep discount despite having had some great success here, adding value in the ground.
Well, I'm a contrarian. I'm a contrarian. I think it's a great time to be having a look at use. And Eric Sprott is on your register. I think he's got about 13%. Well, he's no fool. Is he involved at all, or he's just said, listen, here you go. I like the project. I'll sit quietly while you get on with it?
Yeah, exactly. No, he's very much a passive investor, but he's up to speed on the story. And so he invested in us 2 years ago, and has maintained his 13% stake in us. And so we're very excited to have him on board. Obviously, he believes in much higher silver and gold prices, and this project is one that offers excellent torque, as you can see. I mean, for every $1 the silver price increases and $100 the gold price increases, the NAV, the net asset value here, increases by an additional 75 million Canadian. So if you believe in long-term silver prices being, $30 and above, and over $2,000 gold, I mean, this project would have incredible value. And so you get a free call option on higher, commodity prices. But what's going to add more value, I think, is the effort that our exploration team continues to unlock value. And so you're not paying for any additional upside in our current share price, but you're getting a lot of it as we continue to deliver.
Go on, David.
No, I was going to say, it's not just the market that didn't realize the size of this thing. We didn't realize the size of this thing until just recently.
Yeah, well, I can see that. Now, look, we're running out of time, but we haven't mentioned La Copita, which I think you've got an option to acquire 100% of. I mean, Diablos obviously is growing. David's clearly pretty excited about it. I love that. And what about La Copita? Is that getting any of your attention, or are you just leaving that for the moment?
Yeah, no, we're very excited about that. It's a much earlier stage project. And so we consolidated this very large land package. We were able to consolidate over 70,000 hectares of concessions in the San Juan province, which is the world's best copper porphyry address on the planet at the moment. And so we drilled our initial 2 holes there just a few months ago now. And with the second hole, Dave, again, and the team made a discovery of over 200 meters of over 0.4% copper equivalent. And so, excellent results for a 2-hole program. And so that's, going to be followed up on by us. I mean, we have plans for another 4 holes there. And the potential target there is a massive copper porphyry. Like, you're looking for ultimately 1 billion ton porphyry, of which there are many of them up and down the belt. So that's early stage. And again, but we acquired that land package for very little upfront cost. And so a tremendous amount of value there that we could see adding for our shareholders. And then eventually at the right time, we could spin that off to shareholders or bring in a major partner to help us fund some of the drilling there. I mean, yet to be seen, but yeah, it seems like we have something there. So we're going to follow up, drill that, and then make a determination as to how that best fits into the company long term.
Final comments for you, John. What would you say to people that are listening right now? Obviously, I mean, I'm looking at David right now, and he's just like, he's beaming. He's like, we are onto something here. I want to know, John, tell our investor audience out there why right now is an interesting time for AbraSilver. I think we've covered it pretty well, but let's just wrap it up and sum it up for them.
Yeah. No, so a few key reasons. I'd say first and foremost, I mean, we're an exploration company, and we're consistently hitting world-class drill intercepts. And so I think, look, it's important for investors looking to invest in exploration companies. I mean, you need to make sure to look at the company's track record of adding value through the drill bit. For us, I mean, I'd strongly encourage anyone interested, please look at our press releases, and you'll see, I mean, the results over the past 2 years really speak for themselves. I think we disclose every single drill hole that we've drilled, and so all the results are out there. And I think we've hit several of the best silver intercepts in the world, and we've managed to do that, I think, importantly, on an exploration budget of less than $6 million last year. And so it's just had a phenomenal rate of return on our investment dollars.
Well, David, keep doing that, getting that drill bit into the right area. I want you to come back and tell me when you get that doubling of the strike length, because he's pretty confident, John.
Well, it's going to take a few more drill holes.
Well, I'm sure John will let you at it because you keep coming up with the goods. Guys, it's been great to chat with you today on Wall Street Ninja. Make sure you come back when you've got that resource estimate. And for those of you out there that go, PEA, look, in other parts of the world, it's known as a scoping study. It's the economics of the project, just in case you were like PEA, because some of us don't get different terminology, different parts of the world. All good. Great to see you. As I said before, TSXV, Abra. Go check them out. And their website has a brilliant corporate presentation and lots of updates along the way. Well done, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks very
Thanks
much,
very much,
Kerry.
Kerry.
Pleasure.